Hello, can you hear me? All right. So just a quick announcement that today, right after class, we still have office hour until 1 p.m. today. All right. I think we just go to academic search. That's probably easier because I'm not sure whether this room will be usable by us after this class. Okay, we'll see at that time. But we'll just hopefully that will get everybody finish homework 3. But after 1 p.m. we have to maybe afternoon sometime. If I see, depending on the situation, that I might have a Zoom, online Zoom later afternoon, so you will be able to. I mean, just to be honest, it's kind of not as convenient to help you to do debugging when we over Zoom, because I cannot use your keyboard. I can only see your screen, and it's usually sometimes it's just harder. So let's try to get all the issue resolved as much as we can, all right, before during the in-person. I clearly see that teaching this quarter versus what I did previous 2 quarters with Zoom, that in person I feel is a lot more effective to help you to pinpoint to the issue that we really need to deal with. Okay, so I'm actually going to spend the time. I already released a high-level document about what's going to be the logistics about the final project. So today I'm going to actually tell you something about why we're doing this project and how we're going to do it. Especially, I emphasize on the innovation perspective of your programming. So you guys have worked hard. I mean, I really appreciate you work really hard for up to this point, homework 3, and it's actually pretty difficult, to be honest with you. In some sense, you're probably the only class of object-oriented programming student in the world. In fact, I'm aware of. That's actually learning not just C++, but learning a general object-oriented notation, and then plus a broader perspective about how you can use object-oriented programming in a connected world like what we have today. So you have learned a lot of gadgets for you to do something which is beyond a simple program. So now I'm really trying to see if you can get the fruits out of that. So, let's talk about innovation a little bit. I think there is one perspective for final project. I'm actually going to write this down. Okay, I'm going to write it down. I said programming for humanity. So what do I mean by that? If you think about a typical computer programmer, is actually being, I usually call this is a utility player in the team. So it means that they actually need to finish a project what they specifically ask them to finish. Just like all your homework, I ask you to do this. This is input output. If you can make sure your input match the output, your job is done. Okay, of course, there is a lot of detail there, but generally that's what a typical computer programmer in their career they're going to do. Input, output, that's it. If you can connect this, that's fine. But rarely we actually think about what's the meaning of the program you develop. It's just like when a chef presents a meal, a course of meal, or an artist try to develop some kind of content, there is a message they want to deliver. So I want to encourage you to go beyond a regular computer programmer and think about what's the meaning of your programs. I'm actually giving you as a first time. You can actually think about this by having this. So what do I mean by programming for humanity, which means that when you develop a program, this program is going to help the human being or human society to get closer, to get more positively influencing each other, or this is actually going to make it worse. If you think about that, I sometimes people ask me, what do I think of my job as a computer scientist? So I said, after I done computer scientist for how many years, and I realized that the problem I created for our society is probably far more than the problem we actually solve. If you think about that, technology sometimes help or our convenience, but also introduce a huge amount of trouble. So I want you to balance a little bit about not just worry about syntax, but worry about your understanding about the world based on your experience, especially you're from different culture. That's great. In fact, today, a lot of problem with this internet technology, a lot has to do with our misunderstanding, miscommunication among each other. And sometimes that actually create a lot of issues. And we actually kind of gear toward some kind of objectives, and those objectives purely usually is economics. So based on economics, incentive, motivation, the driver is pushing us to build a system to sustain that, and then we actually not have a reflective mind to think about what we're doing and where we are. We're so busy. You're so busy working on homework assignment number 3, for example, because your instructor has some economic incentive to push you to do that. So let me actually tell you that why I'm going to give you an example. So the environment I'm actually giving you is what I call internetless device. And this internet device is going to support JSON RPC and support whatever C++ program you're going to put it in. And it will have a local connectivity to your phone or your device, or phone or laptop. Let me just use a laptop if they're within the range. So essentially, the environment we try to took away your convenience about those devices. That's, of course, there was a huge privacy issue why they designed that way, but let's not get into that. Let's get to what's the value, programming for humanity first for a moment. So that's the environment you're going to have. So of course, your phone and your laptop, they themselves has an internet connectivity. We're not saying that we take away internet completely. We're saying that the internet connectivity is still there for your phone, for your laptop, just like as of today. But we have a new infrastructure, a new world, which those devices are not directly accessible by internet. And then we're going to use this platform to do some communication. So let's give you an example. All of you use email, right? You all use email. What's the biggest problem, in your opinion, about email today? What do you think is the big problem? Yeah.
Oh, they have emails that are sent to places.
Okay. Yes. Spam, right? I mean, spam is a major issue. I mean, spam is not just about spam itself. Spam and scam. Spam and scam. They're both coming in from email. I mean, we're vulnerable. They're actually getting better and better. The scam and they're more, because our privacy is being revealed. So the email has been, I would say the scam email has been better orchestra and such that it will actually hit our vulnerability. It's actually doing a better and better job. And AI technology, I'm sorry, is helping that as well. So that is a big issue. So essentially, email, I think you just said that it's from how many from everywhere, right? So essentially, today's internet is allowing anybody, as long as they know they can enter my email address, they can actually hit with whatever information. That actually prevent some of the legitimate user want to hit. And why I cannot read your email? Because there are so many other. I just feel the value out of the email system is so little, so to make me think that the email system is broken, is not effective as a good communication system. Unfortunately, that's actually true, especially for me. So okay, let's actually look at a different way. So this is the same technology, but we're going to use this device. So we're actually, if you want to deliver email, I'm not going to actually deliver the email through SMTP, which is the email protocol we're using. I'm actually going to deliver the email to one of the devices. If I want to connect to you, for example, your dormitory has one device. And then at the academic search, we have another device. And over here, classroom, we have this device. So if I want to contact you, I will just install a program that will save the program in my pocket. And somehow when I travel through this infrastructure, I will realize which device that you might have access to. Because when I talk to the device might be telling me something about the people who is actually surrounding this. Of course, there's a security issue. Let's definitely have other solution to do that. So essentially what you're saying is that only local people can communicate with me. Are you with me right now? Because now I'm actually developed a similar to SMTP, but the entry point to actually even deposit like a mailbox. I mean, I don't know if you know, before we have internet, before we have email, how do we actually communicate with each other? We use, of course, the post office service, but we also have some kind of what we call mailbox. And that mailbox is only accessible by people locally around. So at least I'm actually protecting all the student or a community or a family be able to communicate with each other as long as those devices. So essentially I'm saying that I'm restricting access to this communication to only those that at least has some kind of locality access to that. That's actually already help us to reduce the amount of spam. Okay, by the way, I can actually talk about the other thing, it's called spam. So a different word for spam is called advertisement, like a Groupon kind of thing. So yes, you can still do spam, you can still do advertisement, but that advertisement is also local. So it means that you have a way to respond. Either they deliver a spam or whatever advertisement, that's actually give you like a flyer of say Nugget Market. They better give us some good incentive. Otherwise, we will have a way to actually filter out their assets. That's actually fairly easy to do in the local environment. Okay, so first, I'm actually tell you, you can think about this is email service as an idea with strictly local access. And think about that, we're actually took away something. And what's the advantage and disadvantage? Okay, let me actually try to criticize this idea. What do you think is a major issue with this particular idea? I'm actually providing a messaging system on UC Davis campus around faculty, staff, and students. And only if you actually come here, you actually come to the university, you can actually communicate with each other. I mean, we kind of restrict, but we know the amount of information we need to handle. We don't have like a 95% of span. I know every single message must be fronted, and maybe you guys has a secret admirer, and then they will put something on the that can be fun, right? Yeah, I just want to tell you that one of my students many years ago, this is published as a paper around 2010. He actually wrote a program called Date Your Friends. And that was an interesting Facebook application he got. It just tried to countering the culture barrier of embarrassment about approaching a girl by himself. Okay, he feel he just not brave enough to say something, so he developed an application and published a paper, and then he got a wife as well. So that's it's interesting, and both of them are computer science. That's good. Okay, but anyway, what with this service, let's try to criticize. I like to encourage students to have a critical thinking. Means that you want to criticize. You criticize whatever present to you, including whatever I told you. Every sentence I said, you can criticize. That's your privilege. That's actually your most important assets, in my opinion. Okay, so what's the problem with this? Yeah. Great question, great observation. So I'm essentially isolate the world. I'm actually isolate UC Davis from the rest of the world. Is that true? You think that's true? Okay, let me give you an example. This is a great question. That's why I hope somebody will ask that question. Good job. Okay, so think about that today. If there is a student, I mean, usually they're a foreign student, they want to contact me, they want to come here to study PhD, for example. Guess what channel do they have? How do they actually contact me? It's going to be some country in some very poor economics. And by the way, I can tell you a real case, that particular student from Nigeria. Anybody from here from Nigeria? I have a relative from Nigeria. You probably know there's a, I don't know right now, but there was a major piece of time that Nigeria was come out a lot of scam. A lot of this kind of spam email. You guys are probably too young. At that time, there was a lot of Nigeria email. So think about this Nigeria student. He wants to come to UC Davis to study agriculture, technology, or social network, or whatever you want to think about. And the thing is that the only resource he has is sending email. And that email is buried with another 30,000 email unread in my mailbox. And then the email address is from Nigeria. And guess what's the chance for that email to be really read by me? So I'm actually telling you that you provide global connectivity. It doesn't really provide end-to-end global connectivity. It just provides a global connectivity from somebody or some program to my inbox. And that inbox to my mind, to my thinking. That's why I prefer you come to my office hour. You know why? Because I know I won't miss it when I have time. Even just a few minutes with you, I know I'm connecting to a real person. You grab my attention. But if an email, that actually, with that kind of importance for that person's life, is actually not effective in reaching out to me. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you how this system is going to address that problem. In fact, I really think less is more. When you took away global connectivity, you can really provide global connectivity. This is actually have been in my mind for all this year when I started to develop. The first email I developed is called social email. That was a system I built about 2007. So I'm going to tell you some of the idea. So yes, if a Nigerian student wants to actually contact me at UC Davis, there's no chance using the SMTP he's going to reach me. The chance is really too small. But if somehow he knows somebody in Nigeria that's actually study or working at UC Davis or even working in Sacramento, that is actually a social capital, a social resources that you connect to. So now that person, I mean, this is happening in real life, right? When you want to get attention of somebody which you totally don't know, you want to find a person that's actually know that. So essentially, I'm saying that when I'm actually connecting to that, I want to send an email to Professor Felix Wu. And the thing is that I can actually help people, and this is globally connected. If you can actually find somebody, if you can find somebody who is willing to do this forwarding for you at UC Davis campus, and then that person will be able to deliver that message for you. So essentially, we're relying on the social network to broader the case. So this has two advantages. Number one advantage, that we actually did provide global connectivity, but we provide connectivity through the hubs of user. It's just like from the first shadow to the second shadow to the third shadow. This is from the first human user to the second user to the third user. Give me 1 second, I'll get back to your question. The second advantage of that is when I got an email, I know I'm not just only getting from a local email, but I know what's my social relationship. Because when you, as one of the students, send this to me, when I look at it, I actually not only know, when I say I know, I use computational way. I'm going to parse through JSON. So your email, you can think about your email can easily be encoded as a JSON. And then with that JSON, it's saying that, well, this is forwarded by Will, and then Will's cousin in this country actually do that. So actually, I have a chain of social context about how I'm actually getting the student. And I know that that's actually making the spammer's life a lot harder. Because you know what spammer is doing? Spammer is actually sending a huge amount of email, and hopefully a small percentage will get through. And if that percentage is about less than 1%, by the way, the amount of scan they send out or the amount of spend, even 1% is profitable for them. You actually cut down that 1% almost to nothing. Because if they want to get through, they have to get through real human being, a chain of real human, and those are the good people, especially all the students. This is the last hop on this campus that you're actually helping other people to know. I'm not only, it's hard to get, but it's totally traceable. I know that who is the first hop, when, for example, Will, your computer get hacked, and your computer get used to do that. That's very easy for me to know, hey, Will, I think I got a lot of spam from your device to the infrastructure, so you better check. So we have a way that we can contaminate in the local and yet provide a possible valuable service to connect. Okay. Okay. Can you speak a little bit louder? Sorry. You can take off your mask, boss man. I know this is not normal.
If you were a Spanish and you were the most effective thing you would do in this case would be you would have 4 devices located, be able to remotely send spam things.
Right.
They would still be there.
Right. So it's going to be, so I'm not saying this is the perfect solution, number one, just to clarify, it has a vulnerability. You need to actually think about what possibly can go wrong. For example, people, as you said, people can just install like a spy device on our campus and doing things they want, right? And they can probably use a lot of them. I'm even thinking about the future, they're going to send drone. So there's an operation, big spammer operation in Sacramento. They're going to send out a lot of this kind of drone to every single campus of University of California system. And they're going to actually try to harvest information for such device. So there is a security issue, there's a trust issue. How do we actually make that harder to do or we can recognize? So that is certainly the issue that I hope you can think about. I'm just using, by the way, I'm just using email as an example to actually telling you that how do we actually think a service that's good for the human society as a starting point. But you can actually do a few other things as well. This is your choice. I just give you, the only thing I'm actually only restrict you is this line. Is this line. It's an internetless device with this. This 3 line is essentially given to you. That's the restriction. And think about the application you want to have. For example, you can actually build a router. Build a router means that this router will actually talk to this device and just do harvest. Just basically you try to play, what do I call it, a hacker kind of program and try to break the system like this. That could be valuable because that's important for us to understand our own vulnerability. Or you try to build some kind of application. I mean, let me give you another example. I really want to provide some of the information that I would like to share with my students about myself, about my class webpage or personal webpage, because sometimes professionally these two are kind of overlap a little bit, and sometimes we want to let students know more about each other, about ourselves. And if you think about that, I'm not going to put on things like Facebook or put things on internet. It's a public web page, www. And the thing is that I'm actually hesitate to put more information than I should, because I know that this information will be accessible by anybody in the whole world, which I have no idea. But at least I can actually build a local web page. So for example, I want to actually share something to my student. I'm actually going to put a big JSON, which represent the web or represent a discussion, and one of the devices I know you guys can access. And the thing is that I actually want to control such that this will only be there for 3 months. And after 3 months, it will be gone. And well, of course, you guys can actually harvest. You can actually just do what we call scrapper or crawler to actually be able to take out this device. But that is actually the risk that I have over there is way lower, because I'm actually counting on the majority of our members on the campus. They're actually good people. The majority or most of them, and occasionally you have a 1 or 2 outlier, and we can usually quickly identify and try to help this gentleman or this lady to actually be able to know what's right and wrong. But the thing is that this is a campus environment that we really should, we trust each other and we help each other in growing, regardless how our background and culture. And that is the beauty. The other thing I want to emphasize is that it's really interesting when you have application that's in any kind of environment that will help us to be better understanding through different cultural barriers. Because that if you think about a lot of our trouble in our society is because of that. And the thing is that if we cannot do that within a small campus with this kind of environment, it's really hard when you go out to the real internet, try to communicate. So any application that can help, I count on you to think about ID. Okay, so let me recap what I'm saying. I'm just giving you email as an example. You can think about pretty much every single service you're using on internet. There is a counterpart that in this kind of environment, and then you can probably build. I mean, I'm not expecting you to build something really pretty, something very good, but I want you to build something looks like a terminal, just like your homework 3, and talk to a server, and then you can create, right? Instead of having 3 server, client, server, another, you probably create 20 of them. You another one, another 2, another 20, and you actually be able to show a scenario that's actually demonstrate your idea about that programming for humanity. All right, so the thing is that In fact, I'm actually, when I grade your homework, if you look at my specification, yes, the correctness of your program is important. But I think I'm actually hammering on you pretty hard. Correct programming on homework 1 to homework 7. So totally, just like you know, there's a 7 homework assignment. We're actually approaching homework 5, homework 6, and 7. I think it will be easier because you're going to work on team. And 5, 6, 7, they're kind of all related. If you've done 5, 7 should be easy. Sorry, 5, 6 should be easy, and 7 is essentially based on 5 and 6. You implement a very simple search engine. Essentially, you implement Google. The first 5 and 6 implement Facebook, 7 implement Google. So when you walk out of the class, you can tell people this quarter I implement Facebook, I implement Google, and then I do programming for humanity. And that looks very cool to me, by the way, if I read your resume. Okay. Right. So so that's just let you know that I'm not looking at correctness only. I'm really looking at how you can leverage a different kind of environment and try to justify why your design will play a role to help the information technology to actually be connecting people closer to each other. So the really difference between this one and today's internet world is that I really put a boundary on locality. I make it's harder to access, but then there is a value potentially can be brought out through this kind of restriction. So that's why I want you to think. It's a totally different computer programming assignment, but I want you to, I feel this is, to be honest with you, I'm an educator for computer programming probably for, let me see, how many years? Almost, wait a minute. Almost 30 years, almost 30 years. And I see that if I actually regret in my career is that I had probably emphasized more on the correctness of the program. I remember the first time teaching at Columbia, I was still a PhD student. I was teaching software design laboratory. I'm teaching students how to write compiler, how to actually debug everything, segmentation for how do you look at every single bit on your computer. But yet I realized in my career that, by the way, I'm actually going to the last phase of my career. So that's why I'm start to reflect what I have done. I really think that the computer programmer really need to have a more sense about what we're doing, what's our societal impact to your work. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. Any question? Okay, so you can ask any question anytime from now on. But I have one thing I urge you. I want you to start forming team as soon as possible. It's probably today. Probably just among all of you sitting here, you probably should already discuss on Discord. 3 to 4 students, and then there's in rare case I will allow 2 students, but we do have a few students, I should say, they're actually cannot come to campus because certain issue that they're facing. So very unique situation. So I might need some group to help those students to take one. If you only have 3, I will probably maybe add one of you to your group. So you're going to have 3 of you are going to have a lot of interaction on campus, but hopefully you will be able to help the other person via Zoom to work on that as well. And that might be a scenario. How do you actually handle a application for a situation where you have hybrid? Means that most of you are actually on campus interact with each other, but you have student that's actually inaccessible to all the comfort zone like what you have over here. Okay, so that's one for your group. And the second thing I want you to start doing is that as soon as you form your group, you can start meeting with me. So next week, I'm actually going to do Monday, I have a 3 hours after that. And then Wednesday, next Thursday, is that Thanksgiving? Next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So Wednesday, oh, the week after that. Yeah, you and I are, we're the same. We never worry about that. We only care about eating that. There's only one bite of turkey and that's it, right? We check mark, okay, Thanksgiving, we're done. We're eating turkey and that's it, okay. Yeah, how come? I'm just thinking, where's my son? I mean, is there supposed to, I know my son is flying back, but I thought, I have to check my schedule. Maybe I booked the wrong flight or he booked the wrong flight. I forgot. But anyway, that's okay. So good. Next week is not Thanksgiving. So next week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I want you to schedule your meeting with me, and we're still doing this meeting at the academic search, but this time I will try to arrange a meeting so we can have a different room. Means that the group I'm meeting with for half an hour will be go to my office, my smaller office, which is walkable from there. But then other people can wait in the bigger room, and which you can help each other on homework assignment number 4. I mean, to be honest, I really hope next week I can dedicate it to. Okay, I know what I want to say. I want to dedicate it to final project brainstorming. I want to just give you some idea. My job is make sure, encourage you to dream big. But my job is make sure that you have the scope being cut down and still following your dream, but cut down to a point that you can actually accomplish something by December 7th. All right. And homework 4, I believe I have lots of video, Zoom video. And think about that. I'm actually helping like a 4 times or 5 times student like who you are, and via Zoom to help solve homework assignment number 4. So I have a lot of that. So I'm going to point you to a certain video and you can take a look. Okay, you should get a pretty good idea. But still, I'm still there. I will be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So when there is no group coming or meeting for final project, then I will probably help you with some of that. Okay. All right. Any question about final project? Okay. One last thing I want to tell you is that the final project, you can do demo on the Raspberry Pi device, which I will release a video about how to do that. But you actually don't need to develop that using Raspberry Pi. When you're not on campus, you cannot access to Raspberry Pi. You can actually just like the way you develop for your homework assignment number 3. You can have a program called client, and then you can have a program called server, Raspberry Pi 1, another Raspberry Pi 2, another Raspberry Pi 3. You can actually have a multiple of this device, and then they will be actually talking to each other. I mean, ultimately, it's not device, it's program talk to program. Think about that, programmer, you have a lot of power because today is an information-driven world. And you basically hold the key. That's why I want to make sure you develop something meaningful. So we create a better environment. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop here. Any last minute question? Otherwise, we're going to walking back toward academic search. So make sure that your homework 3 are all out today. Okay, good. I'm going to stop recording.